Hey guys, this is Alan from Quinkry Tropicals, and today's episode, actually, I'm going to show you an update on the Pakistan Mulberry cuttings. Now, if you watched my video a few months ago, actually, I show you how to propagate your own Pakistan from cuttings. And today, actually, I have good news and I have bad news. So, just like always, I think everybody likes to hear the bad news first. Now let's get started, guys. Now we know Pakistan mulberries are harder to root from cuttings than other varieties, or at least that's what people tell you all the time. And usually when growing plants, you have to rely on other people's opinions and experiences to actually teach you how to, grow your own stuff. And that's how I think human nature works. So that's what I did for the longest time. And actually, before I tried propagating them from cuttings, but I never did in mass quantities like I have this winter, this past winter. So usually I only did 10, 20, and then maybe only one took, maybe two of them took, and then I thought it was my fault. Why did they not take? Maybe something I didn't do right. But after propagating probably a few thousand cuttings, especially mulberry trees, all kinds of different varieties, I have found out that Pakistan mulberries actually do take longer to root. What I found out, guys, is not that they are harder to root, is they take longer to root than other varieties. And today I'm going to show you that. So that is actually the bad news, guys. It just takes forever for them to root. And then this year I lost I would say over a month of growth, because if you watch my how to grow fig cuttings, I lost over a month because I have my mulberry cuttings in the same greenhouse where I have my fig cuttings, and the temperatures were actually not consistent at night. They were still too cold, and I did not notice the actual temperatures were too cold for a while, and that was probably over a month they sat there and did nothing. So I lost over a month of growth. So that delayed the rooting process, and that is the reason why this video took forever to actually make, because I was waiting for some roots, guys. I can't make videos if I have no proof that the method I show you works. So I had to have roots before I show you any updates, because if I don't, then what's the point of actually showing how to do anything? I don't make these videos, guys, for views. I don't make these videos for subscribers, likes, or anything like that. I make these videos because when I was a customer, when I knew nothing, guys, I wish I could find somebody out there that was 100% honest and taught me exactly what works and what doesn't work. What I found out in gardening, guys, everybody has their own opinions. And then especially as people, I guess, get popular or whatever, is their I guess ideas and perception gets clouded by the sponsorships and everything else. For me, guys, this channel will never be that way. I will tell you exactly what works, exactly what doesn't work, and then I will just be as honest as possible. So anyways, that is the bad news, guys. It took forever for them to grow, and they are still growing. Now the good news, guys, is we have roots. Now, are they amazing? No, they're not. They're just literally starting to root, guys. It's been, I have to check the dates, but just check the date of the Pakistan Mulberry video cutting, and then compare it to today's date. Today is actually April 25th, and see how long that is. Then, deduct a month from that, because I lost a month of growth. And just now, the Pakistan mulberries are starting to actually root. So let's go ahead and I'll show you what they look like right now, guys. So these are the Pakistan mulberries right now. The main problem people are going to have when propagating them, guys, is a lot of them are gonna wake up. A lot of them are gonna actually start fruiting and growing leaves and everything. And what I've noticed with other videos, guys, that is where the update stops. Most people will not even show you the roots, because you know what? There are no roots to show. And that's the main problem with this variety. What's gonna happen is they're gonna wake up, especially if the ambient temperatures are too warm, and then you're gonna get leaves, you're gonna get fruit. Look, I got fruit, Pakistan mulberry fruits on these cuttings. ready to eat. Now these are a little smaller, obviously, because of the temperatures, and these are cuttings. A lot of them don't even have a lot of roots. And yeah, they don't show you roots, guys, because this variety specifically, what's gonna happen is they're gonna leaf out, they're gonna fruit. Now remember, I told you it's a race for this cutting to actually grow roots before it runs out of energy. All this right here, all these fruits, all these leaves, all that requires energy, and that's the energy stored in this cutting right here. And guess what's gonna happen if that energy runs out before the actual cutting grows roots? Your cutting is going to dry out and die, like this one right here. You can tell this one shriveled up. I don't know if you can tell how wrinkled that is. That means it's dehydrated, and this cutting is not good anymore. This cutting woke up too early, guys. It ran out of energy, and now guess what? It's dead. So this is no go, guys. That goes in the graveyard, and that is probably gonna be for, I would say, a lot of these guys right here. What I found out, guys, past experience too, and now this year confirms everything. All my beliefs are confirmed this year, because this year I literally have I have 2 more containers of this. I don't know how many cuttings I have in here, at least 15 here. So, and all of them are behaving the same way. So when all your cuttings are behaving the same way, guys, it's not something you did, it's usually the cuttings themselves. But anyway, so yeah, problem is they're gonna shoot leaves, they're gonna shoot fruit, and then if they're running out of energy because your temperatures are too warm, guess what's just happened? You're gonna lose your cuttings. And that's how most people fail propagating Pakistan mulberries from cuttings. Now let's take a look at this one right here. This one has a lot of leaves, and this is looks amazing, right? But now let's look at the root system, and hopefully you can see it, because this camera does not show stuff well. Let me see if you can see. All right, guys, I have roots out in there. They're so tiny, they're so hard to see. Let's see. There's a root right there, guys, and then let me turn it around. Oh, there is another root right there. Man, they're so tiny, right by my fingernail, right there. There's one right there, and then let me flip it upside down. One right there by my finger, and then let's go around. They're so tiny, guys, and they're just starting to root after all these months. There's another root right there. Now this cutting right here, it's going to survive. But what the problem that I found, guys, is once you get roots, they're so tiny. And what that means, guys, is that this cuttings, the root system, when they first start rooting, is going to be very delicate. And then that means any amount of dryness, any amount of wetness, they're gonna either get overwatered, they're gonna get underwater. So you have to keep up on it, guys, because if you don't, they're going to die. And I think this is the main reason why most people fail growing Pakistan mulberries, because for one, they don't have the right temperatures, and two, once they start actually growing roots, the roots are so tiny, so if you don't check up on them, like let's say this media here dries, and then let's say your ambient temperatures are 70, 80 degrees, that cutting will dehydrate immediately, and in one afternoon you're gonna lose it, just because those roots are small. When the root systems, when the roots of your plants are small, guys, you have to understand, the plant has a harder time drinking the water from the soil. They have a harder time with everything. So usually, you know, any amount of stress, they're going to die very easily. So I have to baby these guys. My garage it's been getting extremely hot, because our temperatures here daytime are like 90 degrees, and we are still in the mid 50s at night. That is too hot during daytime. And then so I'm having to like move things around. Now they're gonna go in my house in a closet where the temperatures are more consistent, and then hopefully that's gonna give them the time they need to root out. Are they all going to root? No, they're not, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything to you. Now this cuttings right here, the ones that have fruit on them, I'm gonna worry about them, because for one, I don't see any tiny little roots on them. I mean, this one has one that you can barely see. There's no way you're gonna be able to see that in the camera. But this one has fruit, guys, and that worries me, because those fruits take a lot of time they take a lot of energy out of the cutting. I can actually, you know, prune them off. I can just go ahead and take them off like this, and hopefully that will help the cutting. But what I'm actually gonna do, guys, to help these guys along is I'm gonna put some stakes in here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and bag this whole thing to keep the humidity in the tub higher than the environment. And hopefully that will keep the cuttings from dehydrating too quickly, and it will also help them hydrate through their foliage. Just like foliar feeding, or whenever you spray your plants, they can uptake some water through their foliage. So that's what I'm gonna do, guys. I'm just gonna sprinkle them every once in a while, and then I'm gonna put a bag over there and keep them a little humid, and that will give them the extra time to actually root. A lot of them, I mean, I don't see any roots in a lot of them, guys. I would say over 50% of them don't have roots yet, but they are still alive even after all these months. Look at that. If you ever wonder how to check your plants if they're alive, just scratch them, and you see how green that is? That means these cuttings are still alive. So I'm not gonna give up on them, guys, but I'm not gonna lie to you either. This variety takes a lot longer to root from cuttings than other varieties. Now let me show you something else. Now let's take a look at this, guys, right here. This is just rootstock right here, guys. These branches were actually, they weren't going in the trash. We left them outside for over a month. They were in the shade. They were meant not to actually make it because, you know, the rootstock and then my Pakistan Mulberry in the ground, we actually let the rootstock grow so that way we could get some cuttings out of it, and we did. We got a bunch of them. We had so many branches that we didn't know what to do with them, so we just, you know, I'm like, whatever, you know, so they're just gonna lay there and then go to plant heaven. But at first I felt so bad about them because I kept walking by that branch and it was laying there, and I'm like, man, you know, that poor branch is just laying there, and then I'm just gonna give it a chance to life. So I picked it up. I did the scratch test on it. It was literally 6 weeks later, guys. I'm not even kidding you. 6 weeks after I made the how to propagate your Pakistan from cuttings, and that branch was still alive. I'm like, you know what, trooper? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna make a cutting out of you, and I'm gonna give you a chance to live. And you know what they did, guys? They rooted. I didn't even use any rooting hormone, guys. I didn't even scratch this, guys. I didn't do anything besides make the cutting and stuck them in the bags. And then, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but you see the roots. They're a lot thicker and a lot easier to see than the Pakistan mulberries. And these guys were in the same greenhouse as the Pakistan mulberries. I never took them out of there. I just left them there because, to be honest, I wasn't worried about them rooting or not. It was either they made it or they didn't make it. But you can tell the roots are a lot thicker, guys. And this is the reason why this variety is actually making it way better than Pakistan Mulberry, because the roots are way thicker. And then, you know, apparently they root a lot easier. So as a summary, guys, do I recommend growing your Pakistan Mulberry from cuttings? Yes and no. If you have a lot of cuttings, guys, go ahead and do it. You have nothing to lose. And I got roots. They may not be the biggest, guys, and it's taking a lot longer to root. Part of it's my fault. Like I said, I lost over a month. But they're taking way too long to root, guys. Those other mulberries that I show you, these are rootstock from my Pakistan Mulberry in the ground. This guy's rooted without any rooting hormone. I did not pay attention to them. I didn't do anything. And these guys, they wanted to live, and they grew roots. And then guess what's gonna happen? Now they're gonna live a happy, long life, and then instead of being, you know, thrown away in the trash like they were meant to. So what I'm gonna do, personally, since I like to grow a lot of mulberry trees from cuttings, but Pakistan mulberries, that takes too much work, guys. And then for the amount of performance that I'm getting out of it, I don't think it's worth it, for me, that is. Now, if you're only growing a few cuttings for yourself, then great, you know. if you have a lot of cuttings, go ahead and do the cutting method. It works. I'm not gonna lie to you, there are roots there and those guys are gonna live. Now, I'm gonna have to put the humidity dome over it, and the reason for that is because my day temperatures are in the 90s now. It's too hot, too dry, and these cuttings, they need a lot longer to actually root. So I'm gonna help them along by creating an environment that's gonna give them the time that they need to actually root, guys. And that requires me to put a plastic bag over it, probably mist them maybe once a day, just very lightly, just to keep the humidity level higher inside that container, so that way the cuttings will have the time they need to root. I think that's the main problem people have with propagating Pakistan mulberries from cuttings, is they just don't give the cuttings enough time for them to root. And then by the time they actually start growing roots, the temperatures are too hot, and then you know, they dry out and die. And then that may appear that the cutting is taking, you know, it's harder to root. It just requires more time to root. I think that's the main problem here. But I'm gonna help them along. I'm gonna put it back, keep it humid, and I'm very confident that they're actually going to root. I have rooted them in the past from cuttings, guys. I have never done this amount before, but I have done, you know, 10, 20 at a time, and then not all of them took. But then again, I didn't give them enough time. But you know, by the time I gave up on them, a few of them actually had roots and they grew from cuttings. So I know it's doable. There is the proof right there, guys. I know the roots are very tiny, but I wanted to show you an update video. But yeah, it works. Make sure you have a lot of cuttings though, because a lot of them, you know, they may not make it because it takes such a long time. Make sure your potting mix is not too wet, because if it's too wet for that long against the trunk, it's gonna rot your trunk or all they're cutting. Make sure that you also check it, because if it dries out on you, those tiny roots will dry out and it will kill your cutting, guys. So yeah, you're gonna have to keep up with it. I will say check it daily, not daily, I mean weekly, as soon as you start seeing leaves on it. So if your cuttings actually wake up too early, and then mine woke up very early this year because my temperatures during the daytime, they actually got really hot very quickly, guys. Normally, you know, we have a little, the temperatures usually gradually increase, but this year they went up to 80 degrees within like 2 weeks, and then at night they dropped to 50, 40 degrees. That's huge fluctuation. That's not good for rooting cuttings, guys. You need night temperatures. Night temperatures are what's most important about anything out there. If you don't have them, your cuttings are not gonna root properly. And this year my temperatures were up and down, so my cuttings took forever to root. And then combine that with the I left them outside in the greenhouse for the first month. It was too cold at night, so they didn't do anything. But that's another one of the benefits, guys, of propagating cuttings, mulberry cuttings in the winter time, is because if you make any mistakes, you have that time to actually fix your mistakes. If you have been growing during the growing season, those cuttings would have dried out within weeks, guys. Nope, very quickly. But since it was still, you know, the cuttings were still dormant, they just sat there and waited for me to figure out what I did wrong, and then I fixed the problem. Now they're just starting to root, and that's taking what, 2-3 months, guys. That's taking forever. So what I'm gonna do for future propagation, Pakistan propagation, I'm just gonna graft them. I'm just gonna keep grafting them, guys. It's just a lot faster for me. I can actually make thousands of these cuttings right here, thousands. And then these guys actually, you can see the roots. I mean, they're huge and they're rooted very quickly. And then for me to graft this cutting onto this one right here, it takes me like 1 minute or less. And it will take very easily, because I have done it in the past. Very easy, guys. So I'll make a video in the future how to graft your Pakistan mulberries, so that way you can do the same thing. And then in the future, you know, I have a lot of rootstock, guys, and they'll be on our website, and then you guys, you know, can go there and get them if you want to graft your own Pakistan mulberry as well. But don't give up on them, guys. If you want to do cuttings, just give them time to grow. They will grow. They just take a lot longer, but do not give up on them. And because if you do, you're gonna fail. It's not anything you did wrong. It's just they need time to grow, and if you don't have the ideal conditions, that's gonna make it even harder for you to actually, you know, propagate them. This is probably why commercially they don't do cuttings, because this is taking way too long, guys. I mean, if somebody has to make thousands and thousands of Pakistan mulberry trees for wholesale, you know, sales, there's no way they're gonna wait this long. They'll rather do millions of these guys that are gonna root within 2 months, and then graft the Pakistans immediately, and then within another month they're already healed, and within 6 months they're ready to go. Now these guys, they're taking months just to root, you know, and the roots are very tiny, and then you gotta baby them. But anyways, guys, this is the Pakistan update, and then hopefully if you like the video, let me know. And like I said, I'm gonna keep it honest, guys. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I will tell you. If it's something new that I'm trying, I will tell you as well. But yeah, this worked, guys, but it's just taking longer. So it's good news and bad news, depending how you view it. So hopefully this helps you out. And then if you have any questions, comment below. And then, you know, if you like my video, subscribe, and I will see you next time, guys.